She has pointed ears, an orange-brown fur, and she is sitting close enough that their shoulders are touching. He is gray-brown, smaller than her by a little, and he is not pulling away. 8 months ago, this would have been impossible. 8 months ago, the only thing he would allow near him was a stuffed animal from a furniture store. He had been abandoned on the day he was born. He had never been held by another monkey. He had never been groomed, never been carried, never been chosen. He had a mother made of polyester and foam, and he held her like she was the last warm thing in the world. Because for a long time she was. This is the story of how he got from there to here, and the 3 mothers it took to make that journey possible. July 26th, 2025 was a Saturday. The temperature in that part of Japan reached 37 degrees Celsius before noon. The Macaque troop on Sarayama had moved into the shade by 9 in the morning. A female gave birth sometime before the keepers arrived for the 7 o'clock round. The infant was small, approximately 500 grams, which is on the low end for a Japanese macaque newborn. By the time the keepers completed their first walkthrough, the mother was gone. The infant was on the ground. He was alive. The keepers named him Punch. No one at the zoo has ever explained why she left. She was a first-time mother. It was the hottest July on record in that prefecture. Those 2 facts sit next to each other, without a bridge between them. The keepers did not linger on the question. There was an infant on the ground, and he needed to eat within the hour. The hand-rearing protocol at the zoo runs on a fixed schedule feedings at 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening. Formula measured carefully. Weight checks every 48 hours. The keeper assigned to Punch, a man named Miyakoshi, 34 years old, had done this before. Not often. Often enough. The protocol includes a rule that most people do not expect. The keepers do not hold the infant the way a mother would. They do not press him against their chest. They do not rock him or make soft sounds in his ear. The reasoning is precise. A macaque infant who imprints on a human caregiver will struggle to integrate into a troop. The distance is deliberate. The distance is a form of care. Punch did not understand the rule. He understood only that there was warmth nearby. And then there wasn't. And then there was again 12 hours later. In the first week, the keepers tried a rolled towel. Japanese macaque infants spend their first months clinging to their mother's belly. The clinging is not just comfort, it is how the nervous system learns to regulate. Without something to grip, infants in hand-rearing situations show elevated stress markers. The rolled towel was cylinder-shaped, wrapped in fleece. Punch held on to it for approximately 3 minutes. Then he let go. He sat very still for a long time after that. The keepers tried a stuffed giraffe next. It had short, smooth fur, the kind used in children's toys designed to be easy to clean. Punch sniffed it twice. He pushed it away with one hand. He sat with his back against the wall of the enclosure and did not approach it again. In 1958, Harry Harlow gave infant macaques 2 surrogate mothers, 1 wire, 1 cloth. The wire one had milk. The cloth one had nothing except texture and warmth. The infants chose the cloth mother every time. The need for contact comfort. Harlow concluded, comes before hunger. It is older than hunger. 70 years later, in a zoo enclosure in Japan, the same choice was being made again. The IKEA Djungelskog orangutan plush measures 40 centimeters when seated. It is sold in the children's section. Its fur is longer than most stuffed animals and dense at the shoulders and chest. A keeper named Kano, 24 years old, had seen it in the corner of the staff office. No one remembered who had brought it in or when. Kano carried it into Punch's enclosure on a morning in August. He set it on the floor and stepped back. Punch moved toward it in 3 seconds. He gripped the fur at the chest with both hands. He pressed his face into the space between the neck and shoulder. He stayed like that for 20 minutes without moving. The keepers watched through the observation window. No one said anything. There is a video of this moment. It was not intended to be posted publicly. Someone shared it internally first, then it went outside. By the time the zoo's social media team had seen it, 70,000 people already had. By the end of the week, the number was in the millions. The comment sections, filled with the same few words in Japanese and English and languages neither Miyakoshi nor Kano can read. What people were responding to was not the biology of it. They were responding to the 8 seconds in which Punch pressed his face into the stuffed animal's neck and held on. Most of them could not have explained why it moved them. They did not try. They just watched it again. Punch named the stuffed animal nothing. The keepers named her Oran-Mama, which means orange mother in Japanese. She is IKEA orange, the particular shade of deep amber that the company uses across several product lines. Her fur is long enough to grip properly. Her weight distribution meant she sagged slightly when held, which may have been important. She felt in some small way like something alive. From August through October, Punch carried Oran-Mama everywhere. He slept with her pressed to his chest. When another animal startled him, he grabbed for her first. When he was eating, she was on the ground near his right hand. He never left her more than a body length away. The keepers documented this without commentary. Weight increasing on schedule. Health markers normal. Grip strength developing appropriately. The entry for Oran-Mama in the daily log read at first simply, "Object comfort use consistent." By September it read, "Oran-Mama present as expected." She had become a fixture. She had become in the record a character. October was cooler. Punch's fur had thickened slightly at the shoulders. He was no longer 500 grams. He was moving differently, more purposefully, with less of the trembling uncertainty of a very young infant. He had begun to watch the other enclosures with sustained attention. Not fearfully, just watching. There is a video from October 14th in which Punch sits at the mesh wall of his enclosure and looks into the distance for approximately 4 minutes without moving. Oran-Mama is on the ground behind him. He is not holding her. It is the first video in which he is not holding her. No one made a note of it that day. The note came later when someone went back through the footage. November brought a shift that the keepers had been waiting for and dreading in equal measure. Punch had developed normal macaque behaviors, foraging patterns, alarm responses, social signaling with his hands and face. He was by the behavioral markers the keepers used a macaque. But he had never spent significant time with another macaque. He had never been touched by one. He had never been groomed. He had never had to negotiate space or rank or proximity with an animal who would push back. Oran-Mama did not push back. She never had. That was her limitation, and it was not a small one. A stuffed animal can hold the nervous system together. It cannot teach you what to do when someone holds the ground. It cannot teach you to read the angle of another animal's ears. It cannot teach you that sometimes being touched by another creature is the thing you needed most and had no name for. The keepers knew this. Punch did not. February 26th, 2026 was a Thursday. The daily log entry for that day contains a single underlined sentence added after the main record was complete. It reads, Punch engaged in play behavior with an adjacent enclosure inhabitant for approximately 4 minutes, without holding or seeking Oran-Mama during the interaction. Miyakoshi did not circle it. He did not add exclamation marks. He underlined it once and moved on to the next entry. That is the correct response. Oran-Mama gave him something to hold on to. But a stuffed animal cannot teach you how to be a monkey. To understand what happened next, you have to go back 1 month, back to the morning of January 19th, and the first time Punch walked into Sarayama. January 19th, 2026, was the day Punch walked into Sarayama for the first time. The morning was cold. The macaques on the hillside had their winter coats thicker at the back and shoulders the kind of dense fur that makes a small macaque look from a distance like a larger one. Sarayama is the hillside enclosure at the zoo where the main troop lives. 56 Japanese macaques. Established social hierarchy. Mothers whose daughters outrank mothers, whose sons because rank passes through the maternal line in macaque troops. Punch had no maternal line. He had Oran-Mama, which he was carrying in his right hand when he crossed the threshold. The troop did not come to investigate. A few animals looked up briefly. Most did not. Keeper Kano stood outside the mesh on the observation path. He did not go in. That was the correct decision, and it was also the hardest thing he had done in 2 years of working with primates. The instinct when you have raised an animal from 500 grams is to follow. Kano stood at the mesh and watched. Punch moved slowly along the perimeter of the enclosure, staying near the wall. He held Oran-Mama close to his chest. He was not running. He was not trembling. He was moving the way a very careful animal moves when it is trying to understand an unfamiliar space without committing to any single direction. The first social interaction happened approximately 40 minutes after Punch entered. A mid-ranking female approached, assessed him for a few seconds, and delivered a brief vocalization that Macaque researchers classify as a mild warning. She was not threatening him. She was establishing a boundary. Punch ran 6 meters and pressed himself against the mesh wall. He held Oran-Mama with both hands for several minutes. Then he stopped holding her with both hands. Then he let her hang from his right hand, loosely. Then he turned around. The second week was harder than the first. The troop had acknowledged his presence, which meant they had begun to react to it. He was chased twice on separate days, not viciously, not with the sustained pursuit that signals serious aggression, but firmly enough to communicate that he was in someone's preferred space and needed to leave it. He left it. He came back the next morning. The returning was not dramatic. It did not look like courage from the outside. It looked like a small gray-brown macaque walking slowly back to a hillside where he had been chased the day before. But he came back. Japanese macaque social structure is built on a logic that takes years to fully read from the outside. Rank is not about size alone, or age alone, or aggression alone. It is about whose mother is whose, and whose grandmother was whose, and who stood next to whom during the incident 3 winters ago, that the keepers have only partial records of. Punch had entered a system with no coordinates. He was not on the map. He was not in the hierarchy. He was in the precise social vocabulary of the troop, unplaced. Unplaced animals occupy a specific kind of marginality. They are not persecuted. They are not welcomed. They simply exist at the edges of a structure that was built before they arrived and does not include them yet. The keepers watched. Kano kept his log. He wrote things like, Punch periphery, no sustained engagement, no significant aggression received. He wrote Oran-Mama used as comfort object, 6 times observed in 2-hour window. He wrote, Punch approached juvenile female retreated at distance of 1.2 meters. He did not write, this is taking a long time. He did not write, I am worried. He wrote what he observed, and he waited. The juvenile female with the pointed ears and the orange-brown fur appears in the daily logs beginning in early February. She does not have a dramatic entry. She simply begins to appear in proximity to Punch's name. Punch Eastern Feeding Station juvenile female orange, approximately same size, also present no incident. Punch resting at midpoint rock juvenile female nearby, no contact. She had ears that tilted forward when she was paying attention. Her fur was a warmer orange than Oran-Mama's, more like amber in the afternoon light, less like the particular institutional orange of IKEA. Her nose, from the right angle, had a slight heart shape at the tip. She was a little larger than Punch, though not by much. Her name, the keepers had noted in the troop records, was Mo. Mo did not approach Punch. She did not groom him. She did not offer any of the gestures that macaque researchers classify as social initiation. She simply did not leave when he was near. That is a different thing. The space between approaches and does not leave is narrow in human social terms. In macaque social terms, it is enormous. Not leaving when a lower status animal is present. An animal with no rank, no maternal line, no claim on anyone's attention is a choice that costs something. Other animals see it. It is noted. Mo was young. She had not had an infant of her own. In macaque troops, young females without infants frequently engage in what researchers call alloparenting, tending to the young of other females, carrying them, sitting with them, allowing contact. It is thought to be a form of practice, a rehearsal for a role they will eventually occupy. Mo did not know she was rehearsing. She did not know the word alloparenting. She did not know that her willingness to stay in proximity to a small gray-brown macaque with no mother and no rank and an orange stuffed animal trailing from his right hand was in the clinical language of primate research, a documented phenomenon. She just stayed. On the morning of March 1st, 2026, the zoo's social media account posted a short video clip. The caption read in Japanese and then in English, "Punch has a new friend." The clip is 11 seconds long. In it, Mo and Punch are sitting approximately 30 centimeters apart on a flat rock. Punch is not holding Oran-Mama. She is on the rock behind him. Mo is looking at something off camera. Punch is looking at Mo. The clip has no dramatic music. There is no slow motion effect. It is 11 seconds of two small monkeys sitting near each other on a rock. The comment section took 20 minutes to fill with the word crying. Kano, when asked about Punch in a keeper interview that the zoo published in February, said one thing that the interviewer did not seem to know was the most important thing in the conversation. He said, "My goal is for him to integrate to the point where no one can tell he's Punch anymore." He was 24 years old when he said it. He meant it. He was learning, slowly, imperfectly. And then on March 7th, something went wrong. And then something went right. March 7th, 2026 was a Saturday. The afternoon temperature was mild, early spring in that prefecture, the kind of day when the macaques move freely across Sarayama, because there is no reason to seek shade and no reason to stay still. Punch was near the pond area at 1500 hours. The pond at Sarayama is not large. It is deep enough that a macaque who falls in cannot easily touch the bottom. The other macaque was larger. The interaction was brief. Punch went into the water. There was a bite to the neck, not deep, the keepers would confirm later, but enough to leave a mark. He was vocalizing when the keepers reached the area. He was already out of the water by then. He had gotten himself out. The keepers retrieved him, assessed the wound, documented the incident. They identified the animal responsible. They did not release that name publicly. The zoo made a brief statement. The incident had been reviewed. The animals involved had been separated and monitored. Punch's condition was stable. Japanese Macaque Society has a mechanism for this kind of event. It is called shitsuke in Japanese. The word carries connotations of discipline, of teaching through consequence. Researchers who study macaque aggression use it to describe a specific pattern, a higher-ranked animal delivering a physical correction to a lower-ranked one who has occupied the wrong space, or held ground it had no standing to hold. It is not random. It is not cruelty in any sense that maps cleanly onto human definitions. It is also not painless. The line between social correction and injury is one that cannot be drawn clearly from outside the mesh. The keepers draw it as best they can. They drew it on March 7th. The keepers who work with macaque troops develop a particular kind of attention over years. They learn to distinguish between the aggression that passes and the aggression that continues. They learn which animals carry grudges and which ones settle the account in a single interaction and move on. They learn to read the quality of a troop's silence after an incident, whether it is the silence of something resolved or the silence of something waiting. Miyakoshi had been reading this troop for years. He stood outside the mesh on the afternoon of March 7th and read the silence. He did not go in. He waited. At 1700 hours, 2 hours after the incident at the pond, Keeper Kano made the following entry in the daily log. He wrote in Japanese, "Itsumono wenki na panchi." The phrase translates as the usual energetic punch. He wrote it because it was accurate. Punch was at 1700 hours, moving through the enclosure in the particular alert but relaxed way that keepers learn to read as baseline normal. He was not favoring the neck. He was not isolating. He was moving the way he moved on days when nothing had happened. That is its own kind of information. The evening of March 7th, 2026 is documented in the keeper log and in video footage that the zoo has since shared in edited form. Two animals are with Punch. The first is Mo. She has the pointed ears and the amber-orange fur and the slight heart shape at the tip of her nose. She is approximately Punch's size, a little larger, but not by much. She is sitting beside him close enough that their shoulders are touching. She is not grooming him. She is not doing anything that would have a category name in a research paper. She is sitting beside him with their shoulders touching. The second animal is larger. His fur is dark gray and exceptionally thick, not in the way of animals who have simply grown a winter coat, but structurally dense, the kind of fur that makes the animal look larger than he is. The density gives him a silhouette that is immediately recognizable from across the enclosure. At the sides of his face, the fur flares outward in pale patches that run from the cheekbones down to the jaw. The Japanese word for those patches is momiage sideburns, literally the same word used for human facial hair at the temples. There is a white spot at the top of his head. His name in the troop records is Momiage. He is significantly larger than Punch. He holds rank in the troop, not at the apex, but solidly within the structure. Momiage is behind Punch. His arms are around Punch from behind. He's holding him. In Macaque social life, grooming communicates alliance. Proximity communicates tolerance. Being held from behind by an animal with rank in the presence of other troop members communicates something more specific. It communicates this one is with me. That sentence is not spoken. It does not need to be. The other animals in the enclosure can read it without narration. Mo stays where she is, shoulder to shoulder. She is not doing it to communicate anything. She is doing it because she is there, and Punch is there, and the afternoon has gone on long enough that neither of them has moved. The difference between Mo and Momiage is a difference in kind, not just in size. Mo is a companion, someone who stays. Momiage is something else. He is in the vocabulary of the troop a witness. His presence says, I have seen this animal. I am not unaware of him. In the macaque hierarchy that Punch cannot yet fully read, Momiage's arms around him are a document. They are a record. They say he was here and I held him. And that is a fact now. Punch does not know what that means yet. He is 8 months old. He is sitting with his shoulders inside the circle of Momiage's arms, and Mo's shoulder is touching his shoulder, and the light is going out of the afternoon. He is not holding Oran-Mama. She is somewhere on Sarayama, on a rock perhaps, or near the base of one of the trees. No one has taken her away. She is simply not in his hands right now. That is the whole of it. That is the thing the keepers have been waiting for without saying so for 8 months. Not the dramatic integration moment. Not the day Punch claimed a rank. Not the event that would make a clear before and after line in the log. Just this an evening in early March, when Punch did not reach for the thing he had been holding since August, because he did not need to, because there was something else, somethings else already there. The keepers documented the evening as they documented all evenings. Weights, health status, notable behaviors, social interactions, if any. The log for March 7th, 2026 is long. It begins with the pond incident and the neck wound and the identification of the responsible animal. It contains the 1700 hours entry, the usual energetic Punch. Near the bottom in the section for evening observations, there is a note. It reads, Punch resting Moe adjacent Momiage contact Oran-Mama not present in immediate vicinity. It is written in the same handwriting as the rest of the entry. It is not underlined. It does not have an exclamation mark. It is simply there in the record, the way facts are. The week after the pond incident, Punch returned to Sarayama the same way he always did, slowly, along the perimeter, watching before committing to any direction. The neck wound had healed at the surface. He was moving normally. On the morning of March 9th, Mo was already at the midpoint rock when Punch arrived in that area. She did not look up when he approached. He sat down approximately 40 centimeters from her. She shifted slightly. The gap closed to 20 centimeters. No one initiated the shift. It simply happened the way things happen when two animals have spent enough time in proximity that proximity no longer requires a decision. Momiage was not present that morning. He appeared in the afternoon, moving through the enclosure at his regular pace. He passed within 3 meters of Punch without altering his trajectory. Punch did not move. He watched Macaque pass. He turned back toward Mo. Mo was watching something at the far end of the enclosure, in the alert but not alarmed posture that macaques use when something has caught their attention without triggering a flight response. Punch looked in the same direction. There was nothing there that required his attention. He looked back at Mo. He moved 3 centimeters closer. She did not move away. The keeper's log for that week contains a phrase that Macaque had not used before. It appears on the entry for March 11th. It reads, Punch integrated behavior increasing. Not complete, not resolved. Increasing. That word carries the right weight for what it is describing. Integration in a macaque troop is not a destination. It is a direction. It is a thing you are always in the process of doing. Because the troop is always in the process of shifting alliances, forming and dissolving rank. Being contested and confirmed, the map being redrawn continuously by animals who do not know they are cartographers. Punch is learning to read a map that is always changing. He is doing it without a mother to stand behind. He is doing it without the maternal rank that would have told other animals before they ever looked at him directly where he stood. He is doing it 8 months after the day he was found on the ground, and 7 months after the day he first held a stuffed orangutan from the corner of the staff office. He's doing it imperfectly, and he is doing it. Oran-Mama is still on Sarayama. She appears in the keeper logs periodically, not daily, not even weekly, but occasionally. Oran-Mama near feeding station 3 Punch nearby, but no sustained contact. Oran-Mama relocated to Eastern Rock by unknown troop member Punch not observed in vicinity. She has become part of the enclosure in the way that certain objects become part of a place, present enough to be unremarkable, significant enough that its absence would be noticed. The keepers have not removed her. There is no plan to remove her. She did a specific thing for 8 months, and that thing is complete, and she is still there, and that is fine. That is how it should be. The flat rock on Sarayama catches the morning light at a particular angle in spring. It is the same rock where the zoo posted the 11-second clip on March 1st. The smaller one gray-brown lighter at the shoulders is there most mornings now. The one with the pointed ears and the amber-orange fur arrives within 20 minutes most days. They do not always make contact. Sometimes they sit near each other and look at separate things. Sometimes Mo reaches out and touches Punch's arm the way she did the first time. Sometimes Punch leans slightly in her direction without fully closing the gap. The adjustment is small enough that a camera at distance would not capture it clearly. It happens. The people who follow the zoo's account have noticed that the updates about Punch have changed in character over the past several weeks. In the autumn, the posts focused on milestones. First time holding Oran-Mama, first weight recorded above a certain threshold, first recorded play behavior. Each one had a clear before and after. Each one could be understood at a glance. The recent posts are harder to caption. They show Punch sitting near Mo, or moving through the enclosure, or eating at the feeding station with 3 or 4 other animals nearby. The captions say things like, "Punch this morning." That is all. That is the right caption for where he is now. The milestones are behind him. What is ahead of him is simply life in the troop, the accumulated ordinary unremarkable dailiness of belonging somewhere. Oran-Mama is still on Sarayama. She is on a rock near the base of a tree on the eastern side. No one is holding her today. Keeper Kano is outside the mesh on the observation path, writing in a log that will be filed at the end of the week. He is 24 years old. He has not gone in. He is not going to go in. Somewhere in the enclosure, Macaque is moving through his morning. He does not look for Punch. He does not need to. Punch is simply there now, present in the way that members of a troop are present to each other, unremarkably the way furniture is present in a room you have lived in long enough to stop seeing it. That is the goal. That has always been the goal. There is a word in Japanese primate research for the moment, when an introduced animal begins to behave as though the troop's spatial logic is its own. as though the map was always its map, as though the rock it is sitting on was always its rock. The word is not used loosely. It requires consistent evidence across multiple observation windows. The keepers are gathering that evidence now. They have not used the word yet. They are being careful the way people are careful with words that mean something. Punch does not know about the word. He is on the rock. Mo will arrive in a few minutes. She will sit down within 30 centimeters. He will look at her and she will look at something else. And after a while, he will look at something else too, and they will stay like that until one of them has a reason to move. He has 3 mothers now. One made of stuffed fabric, one made of patience and distance, and one barely bigger than himself who didn't know she was doing it at all. That's enough. For now, that's enough.